Well, today we're starting back on the AMD overclock project. This is the motherboard we're putting in. It's a Elite Group Extreme motherboard, model number KN1 SLI Lite. Tell it's the SLI because of the dual PCI Express slots. This one we're going to be cooling with stock cooler. So first thing we're going to need to do, especially if we plan to overclock this, is I took it apart so I can clean the fan out and clean this heatsink out, and then we're going to put some new Arctic Silver on there, try to give this thing the best cooling we can with the stock cooler. I cleaned the surface here on the heatsink. You can see that's pretty shiny. That's pretty clean, so we're going to clean this up and get ready to mount the board in the case. Alright, I just put the standoffs in this case. Something I wanted to mention, I'm sure most people know, but just in case some don't, most of these motherboard trays have optional holes in them for different styles of motherboards. So you want to line up your motherboard with the holes in the case to make sure you put the standoffs in the right spot. And another tip I wanted to mention is when you put them in, to make sure you tighten them down good. I have this T-handle tool that I use for them, and then also just a pair of pliers. The reason you want to tighten them good is if you ever have to pull the board out, if they're not in there snug, sometimes when you go to loosen the screw on the motherboard, the standoff will actually screw out of the motherboard instead, and then you can have a heck of a problem trying to get the motherboard out. Sometimes you don't have room to pull the board forward and slide it out of there with that standoff on there. So just make sure you take a pliers or whatever you have and tighten all them down real good before you try mounting the motherboard on there. Alright, we're moving right along. We got the motherboard mounted in there, RAM's in there, power supply's in. I'm using a Raid Max 420 watt dual fan setup. I've had that power supply forever, and it's been in more computers than I can count, and it's never failed on me. If I had a chance to buy a Raid Max again, I would, because I really have had good luck with this one. Alright, we took the front fan enclosure and we painted that black also, just simply because I couldn't stand to see any more yellow in there. The drives themselves are in. We just got to put the ribbons in and stuff, and hook up the wires and manage the cables a little bit, and that'll be ready to fire up. But before I do it, this is the video card I'm using just to get it started up and get it installed. It's one of my NVIDIA 7800 GTs. And if you watched the video last week, you've seen that we took apart the ATI card and cleaned it and reseated it to make sure it stayed cool. So I figured while I have this out, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tear this one down and clean it just to make sure it's going to run efficient. Okay, we took apart the heatsink and fan. Pretty similar to the ATI setup. I'm really glad I did. I don't know if you can make that out, but look at all the gunk that's in that heatsink. That's not going to flow much air at all. These do have a nice copper base on them though, which I was kind of surprised about. Good for distributing heat. And also they had put a fairly good amount of some sort of compound on there. It almost looks like Arctic Silver, but I can't be sure if it is. But I won't spend a lot of time on this. I just wanted to show you all the gunk in here and why it's a good reason to check these. Okay, we got everything installed, ready to go. Everything's plugged in. Just wanted to take one quick video here before I pop the covers on and we plug it in and fire it up. We'll start installing Windows on it. Let's see if I can get around the front here a little better. Okay. Well, here is a shot of it up and running. I installed Vista 64 on here since we do have a 64-bit processor. I forgot to mention in the earlier videos, this is a socket 939 motherboard. I can't recall if they made the AM2 in a 3800 or not. I know the higher ones like the 4200, 4800 were available in either or. But this is a socket 939. So far so good, everything's running good. As most people know, when you add the thermal paste or Arctic Silver, they say to wait a day or two for it to cure to make sure it makes a good connection between the heatsink and the processor. So we're not going to try overclocking it yet. We're just going to run it for a day or two and get all the software installed and make sure there's no bugs in it, and then we're going to see what we can do with it. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned when we start the overclocking on it.